Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be with you. We have been talking about the repression and the attacks against the new Muslim community in Mecca. And the Prophet ﷺ was just trying to find a way for him to protect his community, and it was quite difficult. At the same time, people were entering Islam, a few, but still there was a presence for the Muslim community. At one point, someone was very angry and he wanted to put an end to this sedition, to this fitna within the community, and it was Umar ibn al-Khattab. So once he just decided, I'm going to kill him because this has to stop. So he took his sword and he was on his way. And while he was on his way, he met Nu'aym ibn Abdullah. Nu'aym ibn Abdullah secretly converted to Islam, and he asked him, what are you doing? What do you want to do? He said, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill this guy who is pretending of being a prophet. So Nu'aym just, when he saw this, he tried to divert him from his project, and he told him, you may have first to put some order in your own family because your sister Fatima converted to Islam. So Umar ibn al-Khattab was just astonished and infuriated because what was happening to his family. He decided to go first to his sister and to see what was going on with her and her husband Sa'id. And when he was arriving at the house, he heard them reciting something. So he went in and asked, what is happening? What were you reciting? Say, nothing, we are not doing anything. Say, yes, I heard something. No, nothing. We didn't hear anything. So he started struggling with his brother-in-law, and he wanted to strike him, and instead of striking him, he struck his sister Fatima, and Fatima just was shocked, and blood blushed out, and he was shocked by this. And at that point she said, yes, we are Muslims, and we converted to Islam. It is up to you to do whatever you want with us, but we are Muslims. So he was in a state of shock, and he asked her, so let me listen to what you were reciting right now. And in fact, what they was reciting, and there was somebody with them who was hiding in the house, Khabbab. When he heard that Omar was coming, he hid, and then he was listening to what was happening within the house. And when he heard that Umar ibn al-Khattab wanted to listen to the Quran, he just waited to see what was going to happen. And then when he heard بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم طه ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى. So he heard the very nice recitation of the Quran, and he was just astonished by what he was hearing and what he was listening to, until he reached the verse which was so important, which changed everything. إنني أنا الله لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدني وأقم الصلاة لذكري. The revelation, what was here important is that I am Allah. I am Allah. I am God. There is no God but me. Perform the prayer in order to remember me. When he arrived at that point, he just said, that's something which is very powerful. And he changed completely his mind, and his heart was just converting into something completely new. He came to kill the Prophet ﷺ, and after hearing some verses, everything changed. Khabbab came out from his hidden place in the house, and he told him, you know what, I heard the Prophet ﷺ asking God that to help this community, you or Abu Jahl, to convert to Islam. He was hoping this, knowing that he has no power on hearts, and that's something which is essential for us. The Prophet ﷺ, in a state of difficulty, where everything he was facing was just I don't know what I am going to save this community because they are attacking us day in, day out. He turned to God and asked God, please make Umar ibn al-Khattab or Abu Jahl change their heart, change their mind, and bring them to us. And this is what happened with Umar ibn al-Khattab. So they went straight away to see the Prophet ﷺ in Bayt al-Arqam when he was secretly preaching and spreading the message. And when he came, he just acknowledged the fact that he wanted to be a Muslim. And straight away he said, now we are Muslims, we should go and show it to the people. So he wanted to go straight to pray at the Kaaba publicly for the people to know. And with Hamza, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, who already converted to Islam, they went, and from that time Umar ibn al-Khattab was called al-Faruq, the one who is distinguishing between what is good and what is bad. This story, it's important because it helps us to understand that the Prophet ﷺ has spiritual power, but no power on the hearts of the people. He cannot convert, and we don't know. It could happen after few seconds when you read the Quran, or after years, even in the proximity of the Prophet ﷺ. So no final judgment on people and hearts, because we don't know what could happen to people in their life. So what was here important it was really this story, which also changed the relationship between the Prophet ﷺ and the environment, because if Hamza, very strong personality, and Umar ibn al-Khattab were to become Muslim, everything was going to change. So the chiefs of the tribes around say, we cannot help us, we have to do something. And they decided something which was a banishment, a boycott of the two clans. The first one Banu Hashim and the other one Muttalib. And the two clans had decided to go outside the city, and for 3 years they were boycotted. No contracts, no marriages, no even personal relationship, to the point that some leaders decided after 3 years it was too much, and they, through a trick, they came and they resisted the very strong authority of Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl, who were completely against having relationship with Banu Hashim, and the ban was lifted after 3 years. What happened straight after this is just when the Prophet ﷺ was starting to hope, okay, we will come back now, the relationship are going to start. What happened is the year of sorrow, the 9th year of the mission. In 619, Khadija radiallahu anha, who was protecting the Prophet, passed away. So this was the first protection that was disappearing for the Prophet ﷺ. And then Abu Talib, who was the second to protect the Prophet ﷺ, who never became a Muslim, he died few months later. So the Prophet ﷺ was in a situation where he had no protection. Now the two main protectors were gone. Just before the death of Abu Talib, who looked after him when he was young, the Prophet ﷺ went to see him before he was to breathe his last. And what he asked him is just, please, just say the Shahada, bear witness that there is only one God, I am the messenger. Abu Talib said, no, I'm not going to do this because they will think that I did it because I was scared, so I'm not going to do that. And he didn't. At the end, he passed away without becoming a Muslim. And in this story again, the Prophet ﷺ, he was asking God for Umar ibn al-Khattab, and he became a Muslim beyond his human power. And then he was with his uncle. He was with the one who he loved so much, and he was unable to bring him to Islam. And for this occasion, the Quran, the revelation came and told him, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُهْتَدِينَ. Meaning, you cannot guide whom you love, but God guides whom He wills, and He knows best those who are guided. Your limitation, you might come with the message, but the way the message is going to come to enter the hearts of the people, even the people you love, even the more beloved around you, that's not in your power, that's not in your capacity. And then once again, relying on Allah and being here obliged just to acknowledge the fact that it was impossible for him to deal with it. And he was so sad just to see this, that even the people he loved, he had no power. He was not able to change their heart, then to change their mind. He was in a situation where he had to find something. How am I going to deal with this community? So he decided to go to Taif just to look for some support, people supporting him and protecting him. He went there, and the chiefs and all the people around him just mocked him, insulted him. Even the children were pushed by the leaders to throw stones at him when he was on his way. So he was on his own. So he went to an orchard and tried to find just to be protected there, and a space where he was in security. And he was on his own. And it's at that time that he turned to Allah, he turned to God, because he had no solution. He didn't know what to do. And this is the famous supplication that it's known. Allahumma ilayka ashku da'fa quwwati wa qillata hilati wa hawani ala an-nas. Meaning here that at that time, oh God, to you alone I complain of my weakness, my insufficient ability, and my insignificance before the people. Anta ya arhamur rahimin, Anta arhamur rahimin, oh the most merciful, the most compassionate. You are the most merciful, you are the most compassionate. Anta Rabbul Mustad'afin, you are the Lord of the needy people. Wa Anta Rabbi, you are my Lord. So he was asking him, what am I going to do now? And he carried on with supplication. When he was there, the people who were the owner of this space saw him, and they sent their servant, their slave, just to see what was happening with him, to give him some grapes and to help him. And when he went there, this young slave started to talk to the Prophet ﷺ, and he told him, I'm a Christian. And before eating, he saw the Prophet ﷺ, he heard the Prophet ﷺ say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That's very strange. Polytheists are not behaving in that way. So he asking some questions. And at the end, as a Christian, he just converted to Islam. Look at this, a second story. The story of Umar ibn al-Khattab, who in few seconds became a Muslim. His uncle, after years, he refused. And Addas, a young slave Christian, after a few seconds, just to hear Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Meaning for us, when we look at all this, we never know. We never know the secrets of the hearts. And on this, he came to seek the protection of the leaders. He got the conversion of the slave. That's the reality of the Prophet ﷺ, being on his own and asking Allah, what am I going to do with this? And then after he got some protection, because he was looking, and at the end Mut'im was one who gave him protection, he decided to come back to Mecca, and he stayed in Mecca. He was protected. And something happened which is important in the Islamic history for many reasons, was the night journey. He was always going at the Kaaba and praying there, and one day he fell asleep and he dreamt, or he was sleeping, while at that time Gabriel, the angel Gabriel alayhi salam, came and shook him, woke him up and took him with him on al-buraq. Buraq is a white animal between the mule and the donkey with wings, and he took him to Jerusalem first. There he met the messengers, Abraham alayhi salam, Moses alayhi salam, all the and he prayed. He led the prayer with them. And just after this, Gabriel alayhi salam took him and raised him to Sirah al-Muntaha, the Sidrat of the extreme presence, extreme limits. That was his night journey, and he brought him back during the same night. This journey, you know, the scholars are talking, was it spiritual, was it physical? The great majority of the scholars are saying it's both physical and spiritual. What was important was when he came back, he talked to Hani, who was looking after his things in Mecca, and she told him, don't talk about this. The people are going to think that you are crazy and mad. Don't talk about it. And said, I can't, I have to talk about it. And he went and he talked about it, and people say, oh, well, now we got you. Now we know you are mad, you are crazy. They went to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. They went to Abu Bakr, the companion. And Abu Bakr, when he heard this, he said, did he say that? He said, yes, he's saying that in one day he went to Jerusalem, he went to the seven heavens, and this is what happened to him. He said, he's crazy. He said, no, if he said it, he's right. I believe in him. I trust him. I believe he is a man of words. At that time, and from that time, Abu Bakr was to be called Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the truthful, the one who put all his trust in the Prophet ﷺ. And that's something which is important, because you know, in the classical books, when we deal with a Sirah, the night journey was just a gift to the Prophet ﷺ, and it was a gift, but at the same time, at that moment, it was a test to know who are the people who will believe in the Prophet ﷺ, who will trust him and stay with him, and those who are just say, oh no, that's impossible, and leave him. And some left, by the way, and the great majority stayed with him. What is important during the night journey is three things that we have to remember. The first is the centrality of Jerusalem, because at that time they were praying towards Jerusalem. They were still praying towards Jerusalem, and he went there, meaning that there is here a direction that we have to keep and to understand. Jerusalem as the direction, the first Qibla. The first Qibla, but not only this, all the messengers prayed behind the Prophet ﷺ, meaning that is the centrality of Jerusalem and the universality of the message there, because all the messengers were there. So we need to get this right also for Muslims. Just Jerusalem is not, you know, a sacred place, a secondary sacred place. No, it's at the same time the direction, the first direction, the essential direction, the spiritual universal meaning of our unity as humanity, respecting through this the message of Moses alayhi salam and Jesus alayhi salam. That's something which is important in the first part of the journey. There are two verses in the Quran mentioning this story of the night journey. The first one, of course, in Surah Al-Isra. It's even the name of the verse. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير. Glory to him who journeyed his servant by night from the sacred mosque to the Father's mosque, whose presence we have blessed, in order to show him of our wonders. He is the listener, the beholder. That's important because it means the sacredness of this Father's mosque that the Prophet ﷺ went to and prayed there. And of course, in Surah Al-Najm, when it is said, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى. By the star, and at it goes down, your friend has not gone astray, nor has he erred. Here also we have the collection and the Quran talking about this to help us to understand that this is central. This is an important journey, and you need to keep in mind the two mosques as something which is central in your religion. And this is why today, when we are saying Jerusalem, it's important, Palestine, it's important, our way of asking for the Muslims' rights, but not only the Muslims' right, also the Christians' right, all the rights for Jews, Christians, and Muslims to live together in Jerusalem is also based on the centrality here and the universality of Jerusalem. What is also important in the night journey is two things that we just have to mention here. When the Prophet ﷺ went there, he was close to God with Gabriel. And this is when he was raised from earth that he got two revelations. The first one are the pillars of Al-Aqidah, and what we find in the Quran is something that has to do here with the verse that is very important for the Muslim. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير. The messenger has believed in what was revealed to him from his Lord, as did the believers. They all have believed in God, in his angels and his scriptures and his messengers. We make no distinction between any of his messengers, and they say, we hear and we obey your forgiveness, our Lord, to you is the destiny. Here it's important because this verse is mentioning 5 of the 6 pillars of Al-Aqidah, which are not going to change. In fact, he went close to the heaven to get the principle of the immutable essence of Islam. You don't change Al-Aqidah and the pillars of Iman. And at the same time, he got the prescription of the 5 prayers a day. And again, you don't change this. Wherever you are on earth, you don't change that. Meaning that everything else, and then mu'amalat, all the rules that he got when he was on earth, you have to have the intelligence of the context to know how to implement them, except the 6 pillars of faith and qat'ihum, so they are clear cut, you cannot change, and the way you pray. That's important because it helps us to understand the distinction that were made even in the way they were revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. And the fact that we have here to understand the meaning. So as I said, the centrality of Jerusalem and also the way things were happening within the society, and even the way the revelation was revealed for us. It means that when we deal with the Prophet's life, والسلام, we need to understand those things, because the way we deal with the Quran is also to help us to understand the context within which something was, a verse was revealed, what is essential, fundamental, immutable, and what has to be dealt with intelligence, the intelligence of the context. And this is in his life. This is what we can get from his own experience. Now, what is another step in all this? So he went through this night journey. The people were thinking he's mad. Some were very much supporting. And as it is said here, the Prophet ﷺ was feeling that things were going very, very bad. So he started talking with, during the market and the festival, the yearly festival, he was to meet with people coming from different tribes and different towns and cities around. And he met with people coming from Yathrib in 620. In 620, he met with them and at Al-Aqaba, and he started talking about the message. Some of them converted to Islam. They went back to Yathrib at that time. This was the name of Medina before it became Medina. And they came the following year, they came the second year, and they were the second covenant of Al-Aqaba, meaning that they will help the Prophet and they will protect him, because he knew that the situation in Mecca was unbearable. So he was now starting the process of going to Yathrib and organizing this with 70 people coming from Yathrib and organizing. He sent with them Mus'ab ibn Umair. Mus'ab ibn Umair was not the most knowledgeable, but he has a very nice voice and he was very patient. And he went there and started to spread the message of Islam. And once again, look at the way the Prophet ﷺ dealt with his companion. He didn't take the more knowledgeable, he took the one who knew the best how to deal with a specific situation. And this is also what we need to understand. We should not all be ulama in everything, in every field. We need to be able in a very specific situation and to be able to master, to control what we are doing in the right way. And this is what happened. He chose him because he was the best to do this, to achieve this purpose when he was in Yathrib. So these were the situation, and the Prophet ﷺ was now starting to plan for his community to find a way out of this repression and the way he was dealing with this. So he was preparing, and in the way he was preparing, he got in a dream a kind of a permission. He saw himself leaving Mecca in the presence, accompanied by Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He told this to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, who was full of joy. He was so happy that he was the chosen one to leave Mecca with the Prophet, to accompany the Prophet ﷺ from Mecca to Yathrib. They started to plan, and this is where things started to be clearer for them. They had to leave, and they had to do the hijrah, the exile towards Yathrib. And we'll start with this the next time. Don't forget to tell the people you love that you love them. Life is fragile.